On this edition of Southern Newsweek, COVID-19 testing stations close across the south as the country was declared COVID-free. A rare seal has suffered a brutal dog attack on a Dunedin beach. And Balclutha High School pupils got plenty of exposure with a lockdown photography assignment. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. A milestone in the South's fight against COVID-19 has been reached. After nearly 3 months, the community testing stations in Dunedin and Invercargill closed, joining the Queenstown Centre, which closed a month ago.
Well, South's community-based COVID-19 testing centres in Dunedin and Invercargill closed their doors yesterday. Clinical Services Manager Sharon Feist says the last 2.5 months have been an emotional journey for the staff.
I'm quite excited. I think the team are quite excited to kind of have that coming to a close. That we've done superbly in New Zealand around our COVID and in Dunedin. So I'm proud of the team, not just the team that's been in the CBAC, but all of the other team that make it possible for us to be here.
The Southern Region's assessment centres have done over 7,000 tests, almost half of the 18,000 tests done in the region. The centres are being mothballed just in case the virus re-emerges.
We're packing everything that's on display, but we're not taking the structural walls of each pod down. We'll leave all of the flooring as it is and just pack everything away. And then if we do need to pop up again and do a CBAC again, we're ready to do that very, very quickly.
Feist says all future testing is to be done by GPs and is also a health line for any questions.
Yes, so the main thing to do if you've got any symptoms is get in touch with Healthline. Or get in touch with the 0800 number that we've got, which is virus 19, 0800 virus 19, and give them a ring and get booked in for a test. And we've got lots of capacity in general practice that will be able to do that.
In Dunedin, the South today.
An Antarctic seal making a rare visit to a Dunedin beach recently was left injured after being mauled by a dog. The attack happened on the beach between St Kilda and St Clair.
This seal resting on Dunedin's middle beach is probably a visitor, having travelled some 4,000 kilometres from the Antarctic.
We're pretty sure it's a yearling male Weddell seal, but we haven't seen one of these before, so we'll check our textbooks when we get home.
Unfortunately, the Weddell seal's visit has been marred by a dog attack, leaving it with multiple puncture wounds.
So sometime this afternoon, a dog has attacked the seal on the beach, which is really unfortunate.
Otago Ranger Jim Fife says the dog's owner has been in touch and is unhappy the attack happened. He also says seals are robust and they recover quickly from injuries, and he does not think these ones are fatal. But he does ask people to check beaches before letting dogs off their leash.
As always on St Clair Beach, there's a lot of dog walkers, a lot of dog walking going on, and we just ask people to really be mindful of the wildlife that visit our beach, wherever they're from, and be ready to put their dogs on the lead.
A bylaw states that people have to keep their dogs on a leash within 20 metres of wildlife. In Dunedin, the South today.
Art pupils at South Otago High School were assigned a unique photography project during their time in lockdown. Pupils were tasked with capturing their bubble photographically and revealing 15 things that were important to them.
To help her pupils work through lockdown, South Otago High School art teacher Helen Williams found inspiration on the internet.
I was inspired a lot by a lot of online resources that were being shared over the time, and I was sort of looking for different opportunities for my students. So we did the photography unit, and then the lockdown photo challenge was something to give them a chance to capture their bubble and what they sort of enjoyed in the time in their photo. So it was also a way for me to get to know students' extra interests.
The school's Year 9 and 10 pupils were tasked with planning and setting up a photograph to feature 15 things that were important to them, and then seek help from their families to assist in shooting the picture. For Emma Bennett, it allowed her to do things she normally didn't have time for.
Just that even though you're in lockdown and you're sort of limited to how much contact you can get, you can still get inspired by doing other things that you might not usually do.
Other pupils say the lockdown was a fun time full of adventure, with the hardest part being deciding which objects to include in their photo.
Well, I tried to get as much things as I can in, because obviously I was doing a lot of things while lockdown. So, I tried to get not too much, but not too less, so, yeah.
Ryan Williams' photograph showed his love for music, while fellow pupil Zara Milne illustrated all she had done to help others during the lockdown.
It's all about what I did, so there's photos on there of the photos I took down at the boat ramp, and then there's also shapes in that for a shape monster thing for the preschool, and there's books and all that from helping Ava and Marley with their own work.
Their teacher says the pupils achieved some very professional outcomes and were happy with the end results. In Balclutha, the South Today.
The next time an introduced predator makes a visit to Queenstown Airport, it will be taking its life in its paws. The airport has begun setting up pest traps in a bid to help bring native bird life back to the area.
Introduced pests at Queenstown Airport, beware. Staff member Bill Malone is setting up traps as part of an environmental initiative. While budget constraints caused by the COVID-19 crisis mean that the airport won't be able to purchase its own traps, they've been able to borrow some from elsewhere.
We're very fortunate that the Wakatipa Wildlife Trust and Cadrona Alpine Resort were very, very generously have loaned us 10 traps each for a total of 20 Dock 200s with a couple of 250s thrown in as well.
Malone is checking and resetting the traps about once a fortnight. And while the 20 traps around the 6.5 kilometre perimeter are a good starting point, the airport does plan to buy more as funding allows.
The intention is that we keep those on loan for a period of between 6 to 12 months, and when we can, we're in a budgetary position to purchase those traps and to keep this ongoing for the long term.
The project was started earlier this year in the hope of bringing native birds back to the area.
And what we did before lockdown was have a little assessment of what we had out here. So we put out a few chew cards and saw what sort of predators we would be targeting.
The chew card assessments showed that rats and hedgehogs are regular visitors to the area, and rabbits around the airport are thought to attract ferrets and stoats. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek. Voices are raised as Black Lives Matter protests return to Dunedin's Otago. And a concept from the 1950s is set to return to Oamaru to save cinema goers from Netflix boredom. So see you after the break. Welcome back. About 250 protesters marched down Dunedin's George Street to voice their opposition to racism and colonialism. One protester said he's tired of the daily scenes of racism he's seen in New Zealand and around the world.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter. The worldwide protest movement made itself known in Dunedin on Sunday with a march at 2 p.m. from Otago Museum to the Octagon. Organised through Facebook, the march briefly blocked the south-going lane of George Street, with most motorists waiting patiently for the 200-plus crowd to pass. And other passing cars gave their support with a friendly toot. Protester TJ Zimba says he attended as someone hoping for change.
I'm just tired of the daily racism I experience weekly, every day, and I'm tired of seeing the things I'm seeing every morning in other countries. Like, it's not just New Zealand, and it's not just America, it's wherever like people of color are at, we experience things like this, and we're just here to shine light on that. I feel like the first step is education, and the last step is wanting to make that change.
Simba says many in New Zealand are unaware of the issues right on their doorstep.
I feel like a lot of people are not aware that there's a real big racism problem within New Zealand.
Today's protest was just one of several across New Zealand. In Dunedin, the South today.
The group behind the now shelved bid to open a movie theatre in Oamaru has come up with a novel way to show films. Bigger Picture Oamaru has teamed up with Parkside Quarries to host a drive-in movie night in the Oamaru Stone Quarry at Weston.
It's not your usual movie-going experience, but Waitaki residents, starved of the silver screen, will soon get their chance for a Hollywood fix.
Is there anything you want me to do?
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Cool.
Bigger Picture Oamaru, the group behind a now shelved project to open a movie theatre in Harbour Street, have enlisted the help of the Waitaki District Youth Council and Parkside Quarries to hold a drive-in movie night at the Oamaru Stone Quarry at Weston. Organiser Doug Maurobach says the event was a way to celebrate the end of the lockdown.
We thought after lockdown and all the hardness of the last weeks and months, it would be lovely to create an event for the community to enjoy a movie in a special surrounding, in a special atmosphere. And in lieu of a movie theatre, we felt maybe we can do a drive-in, although it's winter and it might be cold.
While the quarry provides some challenges for those showing the movie, Rockbach says there are enough talented people in the Waitaki to make sure the show goes ahead.
Fortunately, we have a very active youth council in town, and they do have all the equipment we need. It's a blow-up screen and a projection, and they have very skilled young people who are setting it all up for us. So in cooperation with them, we thought we would be able to do it, and then we just needed to find the right location.
Up to 50 vehicles will be allowed into the quarry for the screening on a feature film being voted on by the public. The three films are a mix of a Kiwi comedy, Hollywood classic and musical.
We have gone for American Graffiti, which is a bit of an older one. We've gone for Hunt for the Wilder People, which as of now, just a couple of hours after we set it live, is already very popular. And the third one we have gone for is Across the Universe, which has beautiful Beatles music all over.
The winning film will be announced before the screening on June 20. In Oamaru, the South today.
Maria Noto House at Dunedin's Mercy Hospital has undergone a $1.7 million restoration, including extensive earthquake strengthening. And the hospital says there's still plenty more to be spent upgrading the 142-year-old building.
What was once the private residence of Sir Percy and Lady Sargood, Marinoto House on the grounds of Dunedin's Mercy Hospital is some way to being restored. CEO Richard Whitney says they're custodians of the legacy from when the Sisters of Mercy acquired it in the 1960s to use as a convent. More recently, the health sector has been using it for meetings and education.
It's a grand old lady of a large proportion, and it deserved to reflect its period piece. A lot of care has been taken in the choice of colours and textures in its refurbishment, and we have set out to re-represent what it would have been in the earlier times.
Built in 1878, Whitney says the building required earthquake strengthening, removal of asbestos and a general refurbishment.
The old lath and plaster ceilings had given way in many of the rooms, so we have undertaken replastering of all the ceilings, and with that the introduction of fire protection and monitoring capabilities, rewiring, replumbing.
So far they've spent $1.7 million on repairs, with plenty more costs still to come to restore the whole building to its former glory.
A large old home like this is capable of consuming a lot of money and a lot of energy. We would look to this project being a 3 to 5 year project and undertaken as we can afford to do it.
It's hoped the house will become a sort of mini conference and education facility being used by Dunedin's wider health community.
The second of Dunedin's 3 new urban recycling hubs was officially opened at the corner of St David and 4th Streets, a collaboration between the Otago Polytechnic, the Dunedin City Council and a local environmental consultancy firm. The hub aims to give students living in the area better access to recycling facilities.
Cutting the ribbon on another step in Dunedin's journey towards greater sustainability. The second of the city's 3 new recycling hubs was opened this morning with a ribbon pulling ceremony. Council Waste Minimisation Officer Lee McKenzie says the hub will make it easier for students who live in floating situations to recycle.
The idea is to increase the capacity so that when students have their yellow recycling bin, there's more people per flat, so there's not enough capacity for the number of people. This is aiming to try and address that by giving an opportunity for the students to drop the material off at any point in time.
The $80,000 hub is a collaboration between the Dunedin City Council, Otago Polytechnic and the environmental consultancy Ahika. Dr Nikki Bold says there are elements which makes this specific hub special.
This one is particularly amazing. It's a real amazing effort between Otago Polytechnic and the Dunedin City Council. So Otago Polytechnic has given the land, the students came up with some lovely concepts, and then one student in particular, Alicia Beatty, who's a design student, she took some scribbles that I created and then she turned them into these beautiful native species.
Dunedin fabricator Laurie Forbes from Zeal Steel was involved in fabrication of the hub, and Bold says it has been designed to fit in with the surrounding flora and fauna.
We've got beautiful native passion fruit planted behind it, they're creepers, so they'll slowly grow up. So over time, at the back of this, it's going to be this gorgeous greenery with these beautiful red, orangey berries on it. So it'll really feed the birds. So the plan is, it's just a little bit of something special here in Dunedin. Oh, and you can recycle.
There are already 3 recycling hubs in the city, 2 in Moray Place, 1 in Vogel Street, and another hub is on the way. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on this edition of Southern News Week, on your bike as cycling is gaining popularity in this post-COVID environment, and farmers and stock traders talk a lot of bull at the first major agricultural sale after lockdown precautions are raised. Thanks for staying with us. Some farmers celebrated last week's shift to Alert Level 1 by attending the annual Lang Farm Bull Sale in Canterbury. The highest priced bull of the day was $60,000, bought by a visiting farmer from Alexandra.
No longer restricted to online bidding, the day after New Zealand went down to Alert Level 1, farmers came out in droves to the Lang Farm's annual bull sale near Leeston, just southwest of Christchurch.
With bulls, size in particular, people still want to see the animal themselves. Like the high price bulls today, those guys that bought those bulls, they've been here and seen them 2 or 3 times prior to today. Yeah.
The most expensive bull on the day was a Sudeley Angus, going for a whopping $60,000. Proud new owner Duncan Campbell says he was impressed by both the bull's pedigree and appearance.
Oh, just this great phenotype. He's got muscle everywhere, he's beautiful shoulder, great feet, he's put together properly. And with a bit of data to go with it, it's going to help.
Cook says the bull's price will probably not be beat this year.
Last year there was an $84,000 bull sold in Marlborough, but certainly, yeah, it'll be hard to see that bull being surpassed this year. Yeah.
The bull's new home is to be the somewhat green grass of Earnscleugh Station near Alexandra.
To be fair, the season down our way has been pretty good. We don't always get that much rain down there, but it's been good for us, and looks like everybody else missed out this time.
In Leeston, the South Today.
Dunedin's rugby stadium was back in action recently for the first time since lockdown. Ahead of the match, preparations were in place to keep the huge crowd safe from COVID-19.
Workers have been busy this week setting up Dunedin's Forsyth Bar Stadium for Saturday night's rugby game. The stands will be about 2/3 full, with a crowd of close on 20,000 spectators. And venue manager Terry Davies told the press that people's health is a major consideration for organisers.
There's a safety issue, so people are still going to be cautious. And so what you'll find on the weekends is that every seat in the stadium will have the Ministry of Health QR code behind it. So we'll be telling the story this week about tracking, tracing. We're leaving up to those individuals to manage their own diaries.
Spectators are encouraged to use the QR code in front of their seat to register their attendance on the country's COVID app. And Davies says sanitising agents will be in use before, during and after the match.
On the night, of course, you're going to see hygiene messages everywhere on replay screen, across PA, across all of our websites during the week. And on the night, of course, the cleaning process here is threefold versus pre-COVID. And you'll see, there'll be sanitisers around the place and messages everywhere. So we've got to be very cautious and conscious that the public is still worried about health.
The rugby match is set to kick off at 7:05 p.m. on Saturday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Cycle retailers have noticed a steady increase in the amount of people buying both push bikes and electronic bikes since the COVID-19 lockdown. One cycle retailer and repair shop says about 90% of their work is repairing cycles after enthusiastic mountain bikers have had a spill.
Making sure an increasing number of cyclists can safely get on their bikes. Proprietor of Off the Chain Cycles, Jeremy Forlong, says there was a bit of a rush before the country went into lockdown.
Pre-lockdown, the final sort of 24 hours in particular, we were quite busy. Obviously people trying to get things done to get ready for lockdown and pick jobs up and get everything sorted, pre-lockdown. So the 24 hours leading up was very busy. The few days leading up to that, we definitely found a bit of an influx of people coming in as well.
And as the new normal is coming into effect, Forlong has noticed people coming into the store with bikes which were well loved during lockdown.
So when we reopened the doors, we were realistic that we thought we may open slowly. We were overwhelmed with responses, which was a great thing, of people wanting repairs. And from there we have been very busy. And just trying to keep up and enjoy it, which has been great for us. It's been an overwhelmingly awesome response.
He says the majority of their work comes about after enthusiastic mountain bikers have come a cropper, or simply people bringing their bike in for a tune-up.
So 95% of what we do is sales, service and repair, so we do a lot of repairing, a lot of servicing. We do a wee bit, so probably 5 to maybe just over 5% in sales. With new bikes, we have seen a good influx in both. We have seen quite a few new bikes, obviously, for what we do, and also a lot in repairs. Yes.
He's unsure if the lockdown lift in numbers of people on bikes will remain or possibly increase further.
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, we normally March, April in the cycle industry is kind of the run-in into winter, so it's everyone getting ready for winter, and obviously we were closed. So whether it's people playing catch-up from that, or whether it is not a growing trend, obviously you do see a lot more people out on bikes at the moment, and there was a lot, getting around over lockdown. So yeah, whether it continues, we'll find out probably when the weather changes dramatically, to be fair.
But he's pleased with the increasing number of cycleways around the city. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Plans for a notorious Dunedin student street party have hit a roadblock. Residents of Agnew Street are unsure whether thousands of students will party in their street this year, as safety concerns grow within the community.
All's quiet in Dunedin's Agnew Street at the moment, and it may well stay that way this year. Last year's notorious student street party held here resulted in 17 students having to go to A&E for various injuries and intoxication related to the party. And local resident Yashna Shetty says the steep little street can be dangerously slippery when wet.
I'd be keen for it. It would be really fun, but I feel like we just need a bit more safety precautions. Like last year it was really rainy and dangerous and people fell and stuff. So yeah, if it's like safe and like considering like COVID and stuff happened, if everything's like okay to go through, then I feel like yeah, I'd be pretty keen.
This year's event is still up in the air, and Shetty says she believes the resident who's taken charge of the planning is in discussions with the University of Otago proctor.
They were talking about putting a liquor ban on the street. I think that was between the proctor and the community that was putting together Agnew Street originally. Yeah, but then I'm not too sure what happened like after that and whether that went through. So everything's just kind of on the fence right now.
Last year the Agnew Street party was held in mid-August. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And finally, it's not quite a wild goose chase, but residents of North East Valley are reporting sightings of a strange four-legged creature roaming the area. A lone pig has been seen trotting along the neighbourhood's roads in the past 3 weeks. The porker was caught on camera recently happily meandering along Beechworth Road. Residents say there have been multiple sightings of it in the area since then. Nikki Muir told the ODT she saw the animal waddling past her house on Monday night, but before she could get a good look, it legged it into nearby Chingford Park after a dog gave it a fright. The Dunedin City Council says there is no record of any complaints or calls relating to a pig trotting around North East Valley. That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for watching. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.